Homeless 7-year-old girl calls the emergency contact for the billionaire's paralyzed 7-year-old son lying on the ground. What happens next is shocking. Drop your location in the comments so we can connect with you. If this story touches your heart, like and subscribe for more. The November wind cut through Central Park like a knife, scattering the last of autumn's leaves across empty pathways. 7-year-old Lily Tucker huddled deeper into her tattered coat, her small fingers numb despite being tucked into the frayed sleeves. 3 weeks on the streets of New York had taught her to find shelter before nightfall, but today she'd wandered too far searching for food. As darkness descended, Lily quickened her pace along the deserted path. That's when she heard it. A faint cry carried on the wind. She stopped, listening. There it was again, something between a whimper and a call for help. Following the sound, Lily rounded a bend and gasped. A boy about her age lay sprawled on the ground near a storm drain, 2 metal forearm crutches scattered beside him. In the fading light, she could see tears streaming down his pale face. "Help," he whispered when he spotted her, his voice cracking. "Please." Lily approached cautiously. The boy wore expensive clothes, a down jacket that probably cost more than anything she'd ever owned, designer jeans, and custom orthopedic shoes. His dark hair was neatly cut, though now matted with sweat despite the cold. "I'm Lily," she said, kneeling beside him. "What happened?" "I'm Ethan Blackwood." His teeth chattered as he spoke. "I fell. My legs. They don't work right. I can't get up." Lily assessed the situation quickly, as she'd learned to do on the streets. "Are you hurt anywhere else?" Ethan shook his head. "Just cold and scared." "I've been here for hours." "Where's your family?" Lily asked, gathering his crutches. "My dad's at work, my caretaker." His voice broke. "She left me alone in the park while she met someone, said she'd be right back." "That was this morning." Lily's eyes widened. "This morning? But it's almost night." "My phone's in my pocket," Ethan said. "But I can't. My hands are too cold to use it." Lily reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the latest iPhone model. The screen lit up to reveal dozens of missed calls from Dad. "Should I call him?" she asked. Ethan nodded weakly. "Emergency contact, top of the list." Lily's finger hovered over the screen. For a homeless girl who'd been avoiding authorities, calling an adult, especially a rich one, went against every survival instinct. But Ethan's lips were turning blue, and the temperature was dropping fast. She pressed the contact labeled "Dad, Emergency," and held the phone to her ear. "Ethan, thank God." The voice that answered was deep, frantic with worry. "Where are you? I've been searching everywhere." "Sir," Lily said, her small voice steady despite her nerves. "My name is Lily. I found your son in Central Park. He fell and can't get up. He's really cold." There was a momentary silence, then, "Is he conscious? Is he hurt?" "Yes, he's awake. He says just his legs don't work, but he's been here all day and he's freezing." "Tell me exactly where you are," the man demanded, his voice tight with controlled panic. Lily looked around. "We're near a big storm drain in Central Park. There's a statue of a man on a horse not far away." "The General Sherman Monument," the man said immediately. "Stay right there. I'm 3 minutes away. Keep him awake, please." The call ended, and Lily turned back to Ethan, whose eyes had begun to droop. "Your dad's coming," she said, shaking him gently. "You need to stay awake." "I'm so tired," he mumbled. Lily knew about the dangers of cold. Just last week, an old man who sometimes shared his food with her had explained how falling asleep in the cold could be deadly. Without thinking, she removed her coat and laid it over Ethan. "No," he protested weakly. "You'll freeze." "I'm used to it," she lied, the bitter cold immediately seizing her thin frame. "Tell me about your dad." "What's he like?" As Ethan began to speak, headlights suddenly swept across the park pathway. A sleek black Rolls-Royce screeched to a halt at the nearest park entrance, and a tall man in an expensive suit leapt out, running toward them with surprising speed. What happened next would change Lily's life forever. Maxwell Blackwood had been in the middle of a billion-dollar acquisition meeting when his phone vibrated with his son's emergency call. The moment he heard the small girl's voice instead of Ethan's, his blood had turned to ice. Now, as he sprinted across the park grounds, the world's 14th richest man found himself praying to gods he'd long since stopped believing in. When he spotted the two small figures huddled near the storm drain, his heart nearly stopped. Ethan lay on the ground, covered with what appeared to be a tattered coat, while a tiny girl in a threadbare sweater knelt beside him, speaking urgently to keep him awake. "Ethan!" Maxwell called, closing the distance between them in seconds. The girl jumped to her feet, backing away instinctively as Maxwell dropped to his knees beside his son. "Dad," Ethan whispered, his eyes fluttering open. "You came." "Always," Maxwell said, voice breaking as he gathered his son into his arms. He looked up at the girl who stood nearby, arms wrapped around herself against the cold. In the beam of his car's headlights, he could see her clearly for the first time. Tangled blonde hair, dirt-smudged face, clothes that were little more than rags. And yet, she'd given her coat to his son. "You're Lily?" he asked, even as he wrapped his cashmere overcoat around Ethan. She nodded cautiously, taking another step back. "Where are your parents?" Her eyes darted to the side. "Don't have any. Not anymore." Maxwell's security team arrived then, having followed his GPS signal. His driver, Thompson, and head of security, Reeves, rushed toward them. "Hospital," Maxwell ordered, carefully transferring Ethan to Thompson's strong arms. "Call Dr. Winters. Tell her to meet us at Mount Sinai." As they hurried toward the car, Maxwell noticed Lily retrieving her tattered coat from the ground. She was already backing away, disappearing into the shadows. "Wait!" he called out. "Lily, wait!" She froze, half hidden behind a tree. "You saved my son," Maxwell said. "At least let me take you somewhere warm, get you something to eat." Lily's stomach growled audibly at the mention of food, but suspicion clouded her eyes. "I don't go with strangers." "Dad?" Ethan's weak voice called from the car. "Is Lily coming with us? Don't leave her here. She's alone." Maxwell held out his hand. "Just to the hospital. You can stay with Ethan while the doctors check him. Then food, a warm place for the night. Nothing else, I promise." Lily hesitated, weighing hunger and cold against the danger of trusting an adult. Finally, her shivering body made the decision for her. She stepped forward and climbed into the heated luxury car, sitting as far from everyone as possible. At Mount Sinai Hospital, the staff reacted immediately to Maxwell Blackwood's arrival. Ethan was whisked away to a private room, with Lily reluctantly following. Dr. Sarah Winters, Ethan's neurologist since his diagnosis with progressive muscular atrophy at age 4, met them in the hallway. "Mild hypothermia, exhaustion, and some bruising from the fall," she reported after examining him. "He'll need overnight observation, but he'll be fine." She lowered her voice. "Maxwell, where was Ms. Peterson during all this?" Maxwell's jaw tightened. "That's what I intend to find out. She's not answering her phone." "This isn't the first incident," Dr. Winters reminded him. "We've discussed this." "I know," Maxwell replied, running a hand through his silver-streaked dark hair. "It won't happen again." D. When they returned to Ethan's room, they found him sitting up in bed, color returning to his cheeks as he chatted animatedly with Lily, who perched awkwardly on a chair, a half-eaten sandwich clutched in her small hands. "And our penthouse takes up the top 3 floors, with a glass elevator just for us," Ethan was saying. "From my room, you can see the whole park where you found me." "A whole building just for you?" Lily asked, eyes wide with disbelief. "Not the whole building," Ethan corrected. "Just the top. Dad owns the building, though. Lily's eyes darted to Maxwell, reassessing him with new wariness. Ethan needs rest, Dr. Winters announced. Young lady, perhaps you should— She's staying, Ethan insisted, grabbing Lily's hand. Dad, tell them she can stay. Maxwell studied the girl who had saved his son, her defensive posture, the calculating look in her eyes that no child should possess, the way she'd unconsciously positioned herself for a quick escape. Where have you been sleeping, Lily? He asked gently. She shrugged. Different places. There's a bridge with a dry spot underneath. Sometimes the back room at Joe's diner, if I clean up first. Maxwell exchanged glances with Dr. Winters, whose professional composure slipped at Lily's matter-of-fact answer. How long have you been on your own? The doctor asked. Since the fire, Lily answered, then quickly changed the subject. I should go. Thanks for the sandwich. No, Maxwell said firmly. You're not going back out there. Not tonight. You can't stop me, Lily countered, chin raised defiantly despite her exhaustion. I can arrange a comfortable room right here in the hospital, Maxwell offered, just for tonight. Then tomorrow we can figure things out. Figure what out? Lily asked suspiciously. How to properly thank the person who saved my son's life, Maxwell replied. Lily's eyes narrowed. I don't need charity. It's not charity, Ethan piped up from his bed. It's what friends do. We're friends now, right? The simple question seemed to catch Lily off guard. She stared at Ethan for a long moment before answering. I guess, she said finally. Maybe just for tonight. What none of them realized was that just for tonight would stretch into something none of them could have imagined. Dawn broke over Manhattan, bathing the hospital room in soft golden light. Lily awoke with a start, momentarily confused by the comfort of the reclining chair where she'd spent the night. The events of the previous day came rushing back as her eyes found Ethan, still sleeping peacefully in his hospital bed. A nurse entered quietly, checking Ethan's vitals. She smiled at Lily. Mr. Blackwood asked me to tell you he'll be back by 8. There are fresh clothes for you in the bathroom. Lily slipped into the adjoining bathroom to find new jeans, a warm sweater, socks and sneakers, all exactly her size. The tags were still attached, the clothing clearly purchased that morning. She changed quickly, marveling at the feel of clean, new fabric against her skin, then scrubbed her face and attempted to untangle her hair with her fingers. When she emerged, Ethan was awake, grinning at her transformation. You look different, he said. Your dad bought these? She asked, plucking at the sweater. Ethan nodded. He buys me stuff all the time when he feels guilty. Guilty about what? Ethan's smile faded. Being busy, missing things. He shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. It's just us since Mom died 3 years ago. Dad tries, but he works a lot. The door opened before Lily could respond. Maxwell Blackwood entered, followed by a stern-looking woman in a grey suit who surveyed Lily with assessing eyes. Good morning, Maxwell said. Ethan, how are you feeling? Better, Ethan replied. Can I go home now? And can Lily come with us? The woman in grey stepped forward. Mr. Blackwood, perhaps we should discuss matters privately first. Lily, Maxwell said, ignoring the woman, this is Ms. Hartley from Child Protective Services. She needs to ask you some questions. Lily tensed, edging toward the door. She'd encountered CPS before, in the aftermath of the fire that had claimed her grandmother, the last relative who'd cared for her. Foster care had followed, then a group home she'd fled from 2 months ago. The streets were hard, but at least there she could control her own fate. I'm not going back to a group home, she stated flatly. Ms. Hartley's expression softened slightly. We need to ensure your safety and well-being, Lily. You're only 7 years old. I'm fine on my own. You've been extraordinarily resourceful, Maxwell interjected, but you shouldn't have to be. No child should. What happens now? Lily asked, addressing the question to Ms. Hartley but watching Maxwell's reaction. Normally, you'd be placed in emergency foster care while we locate any family members, Ms. Hartley explained. I don't have any family, Lily said flatly. My parents died when I was 3. My grandmother raised me until the fire last year. There's nobody else. Lily, Maxwell said carefully, I've been speaking with Ms. Hartley about an alternative arrangement. Ms. Hartley cleared her throat. Mr. Blackwood has applied for emergency temporary guardianship, citing exceptional circumstances. Given his resources and the unusual situation, the judge has granted a provisional approval pending home evaluation and further review. Lily's eyes widened. What does that mean? It means, Maxwell said, that if you're willing, you could stay with Ethan and me while the legal details get sorted out. Dad! Ethan exclaimed, his face lighting up. Really? Lily looked between them suspiciously. Why would you do that? Maxwell considered his answer carefully. Because you saved my son when I couldn't. Because you gave him your coat, even though you had nothing to spare. Because I have more space and resources than I know what to do with, and you need somewhere safe to stay. Temporarily, Ms. Hartley emphasized. This arrangement will be reviewed in 30 days. And if I say no, Lily asked. Then I'll respect your decision, Maxwell replied. But you'll still need to go with Miss Hartley. Lily turned to Ethan, who was watching her with pleading eyes. You really want me to come stay at your house? More than anything, he said earnestly. Please, Lily, you're the first real friend I've ever had. She bit her lip, considering. The offer seemed too good to be true, and in Lily's experience, things that seemed too good to be true usually were. But the alternative was returning to the system she'd fought so hard to escape. Okay, she said finally, just until something else gets figured out. Maxwell's phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned, then excused himself to take the call in the hallway. Through the partially open door, they could hear his voice rising. No, Miss Peterson, sorry doesn't begin to cover it. You abandoned my son in a park for over 8 hours. I don't care what emergency came up. No, don't come to the house to collect your things. Security will pack them. This conversation is over. He returned, composing his features carefully. But Lily recognized the tightly controlled anger. She'd seen it often enough in adults before things turned ugly. Was that my caretaker? Ethan asked quietly. Maxwell nodded. Yes, she won't be coming back, Ethan. Good, Ethan said firmly. She was always on her phone. She thought I didn't notice when she left me places. Ms. Hartley made some notes on her tablet. Mr. Blackwood, you'll need to arrange appropriate supervision going forward. I'm already on it, Maxwell assured her. I've called Mrs. Carter out of retirement. Ethan gasped. Really? Mrs. Carter is coming back? For the first time, Lily saw a genuine smile transform Maxwell's serious face. She said she's been bored silly since she retired last year. She'll be waiting at home when we arrive. Doctor, Winters entered with discharge papers and instructions for Ethan's home care. Within an hour, they were heading to the car, Ethan in a wheelchair pushed by his father, while Lily walked alongside, still uncertain about the path she'd chosen. As Thompson held the car door open, Lily hesitated, one foot on the curb, the other on the street, balanced between two worlds. Behind her lay the harsh freedom of survival. Ahead, the unknown territory of luxury and rules. You coming? Ethan called from inside the car. Lily took a deep breath and stepped into the Rolls-Royce, unaware that the real challenges were just beginning. The Blackwood Tower dominated the Manhattan skyline, its glass and steel facade gleaming in the winter sunlight. As their car pulled into the private underground garage, Lily pressed her face against the window, counting the exotic cars they passed. "Those are all your dad's?" she whispered to Ethan. He shook his head. "Just the blue Ferrari and the SUV. The rest belong to other people who live here." They ascended in a private elevator that required Maxwell's fingerprint to access the penthouse levels. When the doors opened directly into the foyer of the Blackwood residence, Lily froze, overwhelmed by the opulence before her. Soaring ceilings, walls of glass overlooking Central Park, artwork that even she recognized as priceless. The space was immaculate, minimalist in design, but clearly cost millions to achieve that simplicity. "Welcome home," Maxwell said, helping Ethan from his wheelchair to his crutches. Before Lily could respond, a stout woman with silver hair appeared, arms outstretched. "My boy!" she exclaimed, embracing Ethan carefully. "Look how thin you've gotten. That Peterson woman clearly wasn't feeding you properly." "Mrs. Carter," Ethan beamed, leaning into her embrace. "I missed you, and I missed you, dear heart." She turned to Lily, kind eyes assessing without judgment. "And you must be Lily. I've heard what you did for our Ethan. That was very brave." Lily shifted uncomfortably under the praise. "I just found him, that's all." Mrs. Carter hummed knowingly. "Well, you look like you could use a proper meal, both of you. I've made chicken soup and fresh bread." Maxwell checked his watch. "I have to return to the office briefly. Mrs. Carter, can you show Lily to the guest room?" "The blue one, I think. It has the best view." "Of course, Mr. Blackwood," she replied formally, though Lily noticed a familiar ease between them. "Dad," Ethan protested, "you just got me back. Do you have to go?" A flicker of guilt crossed Maxwell's face. "Just for a few hours, buddy. That deal I was working on when you went missing, it's closing today. Thousands of jobs depend on it going smoothly." He knelt to Ethan's level. "I'll be home for dinner, I promise. We'll celebrate having Lily join us." After Maxwell departed, Mrs. Carter led them to the kitchen, a gleaming space with professional-grade everything. She served steaming bowls of soup and thick slices of bread still warm from the oven. Lily ate ravenously, trying not to show how desperately hungry she was. "Slow down, dear," Mrs. Carter advised gently. "There's plenty more." After lunch, Ethan insisted on giving Lily a tour. He moved skillfully on his crutches, explaining how his condition affected mainly his legs. "The doctors call it juvenile progressive muscular atrophy," he explained. "It started when I was 4. First I got really clumsy, then my legs got weaker. It mostly stays in my legs, but sometimes my hands get tired too." "Does it hurt?" Lily asked. "Sometimes. I do physical therapy every day to keep the muscles I have." He led her down a hallway to a room filled with specialized equipment. "This is my gym. Dad had it built when I got diagnosed." The tour continued to Ethan's bedroom, a boy's paradise with the latest gaming systems, a massive TV, and walls covered with space-themed murals. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered the exact view of Central Park he'd described. "That's where you found me," he said, pointing to a distant section of the park. "I've looked at that spot 1,000,000 times and never thought." He trailed off, suddenly emotional. Lily, uncomfortable with the sentiment, changed the subject. "So what do you do all day?" she asked. "I have tutors," Ethan explained. "Dad says regular school would be too hard with my condition, but it gets lonely." The blue guest room, when they finally reached it, left Lily speechless. Larger than any apartment she'd ever lived in, it featured a canopied bed, a sitting area, and its own bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. "Is it okay?" Ethan asked, misinterpreting her silence. "It's bigger than the whole group home I ran away from," she admitted. Mrs. Carter appeared with a tray of hot chocolate. "Why don't you two rest a bit? Ethan needs to do his exercises at 4, and Lily, I've arranged for some additional clothing to be delivered." Left alone in the cavernous room, Lily tested the bed's softness with disbelief. Part of her wanted to stuff her pockets with valuables and disappear before someone realized she didn't belong in this world. Another part, a part she'd suppressed for survival, simply wanted to sink into the comfort and safety. She was awakened from an unintended nap by a knock at the door. Mrs. Carter entered with several shopping bags. "I hope these will do until we can take you shopping properly," she said, laying out jeans, shirts, sweaters, pajamas, and even a dress, all in Lily's size. "Why is he doing this?" Lily asked bluntly. "Mr. Blackwood. People don't just take in random kids." Mrs. Carter sat on the edge of the bed. "Mr. Blackwood is a complicated man. Since Mrs. Blackwood died, he's buried himself in work while trying to give Ethan everything he needs. What happened yesterday? It terrified him, made him realize how quickly everything could be lost." "So I'm what, a good luck charm?" Lily's tone was skeptical. "No, dear, I think you're a second chance." Mrs. Carter stood. "Now, would you like to join Ethan for his therapy session? He specifically requested your company." Downstairs in the home gym, a physical therapist named Kevin was helping Ethan through a series of exercises designed to maintain muscle strength. Lily watched from the doorway, noting Ethan's determination despite the obvious difficulty. "Want to try?" Ethan called, noticing her. "Kevin can show you." Soon Lily was attempting the same exercises, surprised at how challenging they were. Her street-honed muscles were strong in different ways, and she found herself struggling with movements Ethan performed easily. "You're pretty strong," she admitted, watching him complete a complex upper-body routine. Ethan beamed at the compliment. "I work hard at it. Dad says I have to be stronger than other kids to make up for my legs." After therapy, they played video games in Ethan's room until Mrs. Carter announced dinner. To Lily's surprise, Maxwell was already seated at the dining table, jacket removed and sleeves rolled up, looking more approachable than before. "Right on time," he greeted them. "How was your first day, Lily?" She shrugged, taking a seat beside Ethan. "Fine. Your house is really big." "Too big, probably," Maxwell acknowledged with a small smile. "But the extra space comes in handy sometimes." He raised his water glass. "I'd like to propose a toast to new beginnings, second chances, and the courage of children." As they ate the delicious meal Mrs. Carter had prepared, Lily observed the dynamics between father and son. Maxwell clearly adored Ethan, listening intently to his chatter about the day's activities. Yet there was also a distance, the invisible wall of a man who'd learned to compartmentalize his emotions. Later that evening, as Mrs. Carter helped Ethan prepare for bed, Maxwell asked Lily to join him in his study, a wood-paneled room lined with books and featuring a chess set on a small table by the window. "Do you play?" he asked, gesturing to the chess pieces. Lily shook her head. "My father taught me when I was about your age," Maxwell said, setting up the board. "Would you like to learn?" "Why are you being nice to me?" Lily asked directly. "Is it just because I helped Ethan?" Maxwell's hands stilled on the chess pieces. "That would be reason enough, wouldn't it? But no, it's not just that." He seemed to consider his next words carefully. "Lily, when I saw you in the park, giving your coat to my son when you had nothing, I realized I'd been getting everything wrong." "What do you mean?" "I've spent years building wealth, power, a legacy for Ethan. But I missed what he really needed. Connection, friendship, someone who sees him as just Ethan, not as Maxwell Blackwood's son with a disability." He moved a pawn forward. "Your first lesson. Sometimes the smallest pieces make the biggest difference." As Lily tentatively moved a pawn of her own, neither of them could have predicted how prophetic those words would prove to be. November faded into December, and with it the initial awkwardness of Lily's presence in the Blackwood penthouse. 30 days came and went, with Ms. Hartley's visits becoming less frequent as it became clear that Lily was thriving in her new environment. The temporary guardianship was extended for another 3 months, a decision met with celebration from Ethan and cautious acceptance from Lily, who still kept her few original possessions packed in a bag under her bed, ready for a quick departure. On a snowy Saturday morning, Lily sat cross-legged on the floor of Ethan's room, helping him sort through his vast collection of Lego sets. "We should build something new," Ethan suggested, pushing aside the pre-designed kits. Something nobody's ever built before. Like what? Lily asked, already arranging bricks by color, a system she'd implemented that Ethan had enthusiastically adopted. A city, he decided, but not just any city, our city, how it should be. They worked for hours, Lily following Ethan's creative vision while adding practical elements he overlooked. They were so engrossed that they didn't notice Maxwell standing in the doorway until he cleared his throat. "That's impressive," he said, studying their half-built metropolis. "What's this building here?" "That's the free hospital," Ethan explained, "and next to it is the shelter where anyone can stay and get food." Maxwell's expression softened. "Very thoughtful." He seemed hesitant, unusual for a man typically so decisive. "I need to speak with both of you about something important." Lily immediately tensed. In her experience, something important usually preceded bad news. "Is it about me leaving?" she asked directly. "What? No." Maxwell looked genuinely surprised. "Unless you want to leave," Lily shook her head quickly. "Good," Maxwell said, relief evident in his voice, "because what I wanted to discuss is actually the opposite." He sat on the edge of Ethan's bed. "My legal team has been reviewing your situation, Lily, with no living relatives and your previous guardians. Unsuitable, there's an opportunity for a more permanent arrangement." "What kind of arrangement?" Lily asked cautiously. "Adoption," Maxwell said simply, "if that's something you might want." The word hung in the air between them. Ethan broke the silence with an excited whoop, but Lily remained frozen, processing the implications. "You want to adopt me?" she finally asked. "Like for real?" "Yes," Maxwell confirmed. "You would legally be my daughter, equal to Ethan in every way, inheritance, education, opportunity. Your name would be Lily Blackwood if you wanted." "But why?" Lily's mind raced with possibilities, most of them suspicious. "Is this for publicity or something? Billionaire adopts homeless girl." Maxwell winced. "No, in fact, I've kept your presence here extremely private. Only those who need to know are aware." "Then why?" Lily pressed. "Because you belong here," Ethan interjected. "You're already part of our family." Maxwell nodded agreement. "When you came into our lives, something changed, Lily. For all of us. Ethan is happier than I've seen him in years. And He paused, seemingly struggling with words. "I've realized there's more to building a family than DNA." "What if I mess up?" Lily asked, voicing her deepest fear. "What if I'm not good enough to be a Blackwood?" "Oh, Lily," Maxwell said gently. "You already are good enough, just as you are." "We'd have to follow legal processes," he continued, giving her space to process. "It would take several months. During that time, you can change your mind at any point. This has to be your choice." Lily looked around the room that had become so familiar, at Ethan's hopeful face, at the city they were building together, at Maxwell's uncharacteristically vulnerable expression. For the first time since her grandmother died, she felt like she belonged somewhere. "I'd like to think about it," she said finally. "Of course," Maxwell replied. "Take all the time you need." Later that evening, Lily sought out Mrs. Carter in the kitchen, where the older woman was preparing Sunday's meals in advance. "Mrs. Carter, can I ask you something?" "Anything, dear," Mrs. Carter replied, setting aside her mixing bowl. "Do you think Mr. Blackwood really wants to adopt me? Or does he just feel like he has to because I helped Ethan?" Mrs. Carter wiped her hands on her apron, considering her answer carefully. "When I came to work for the Blackwoods, Ethan was just a baby, and Mrs. Blackwood was still alive. They were happy then. After she died, something in Mr. Blackwood hardened. He still loved Ethan fiercely, but he became all about work, control, planning for every contingency." She smiled at Lily. "Then you appeared. This fierce little thing who couldn't be controlled or planned for. And suddenly Mr. Blackwood had to adapt, to open up, to let someone new into the fortress he'd built. So it's not just because I helped Ethan." Oh, that might have been the door that opened, but you're the one who walked through it. I've known Mr. Blackwood for almost 8 years, Lily. He doesn't do anything he doesn't want to do, and he certainly doesn't make decisions based on obligation alone. Lily nodded, absorbing this. What was Mrs. Blackwood like? A shadow crossed Mrs. Carter's face. Catherine was wonderful, warm, creative, always laughing. Ethan has her smile. She got sick very suddenly. Cancer. By the time they diagnosed it, it was everywhere. Mr. Blackwood moved heaven and earth trying to save her, flew in specialists from around the world, funded new research. But some things even money can't fix. He doesn't talk about her much, Lily observed. No, Mrs. Carter agreed. The grief nearly destroyed him. But I see him coming back now, a little more each day. She touched Lily's cheek gently. And you're a big part of that, whether you decide to become a Blackwood officially or not. And that night, Lily couldn't sleep. She slipped out of bed and padded silently to the enormous windows that showcased the glittering Manhattan skyline. Somewhere out there were the streets she'd called home just weeks ago. The contrast was dizzying. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. The door opened to reveal Ethan, balanced on his crutches. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, making his way to the window seat beside her. "I keep thinking about what your dad said," Lily admitted. "About adoption." "Are you scared?" Ethan asked perceptively. Lily nodded. "What if it doesn't work out? What if I do something wrong and he changes his mind?" "Indeed, Dad doesn't change his mind," Ethan said with absolute certainty. "When he decides something, that's it." "People always leave eventually," Lily said quietly. "My parents died. My grandma died. The foster family sent me back." "We won't," Ethan promised, with the simple conviction of a child. "I always wanted a sister. And even one from the streets? Especially one from the streets. You're the bravest person I've ever met." He yawned, the late hour catching up with him. "Will you at least think about it? Being my sister for real?" "I'll think about it," Lily promised. After helping Ethan back to his room, Lily returned to the window, watching as snow began to fall over the city. Tomorrow was Sunday, the day Maxwell had set aside exclusively for Ethan. No work allowed. Since Lily's arrival, these Sundays had expanded to include her as well. Tomorrow, Maxwell had planned a special outing. Perhaps then, Lily thought, she would give him her answer. What she couldn't know was that the next day would bring a crisis that would test their fledgling family bond in ways none of them could have anticipated. Sunday dawned bright and clear, the previous night's snow transforming Central Park into a winter wonderland. Maxwell had arranged for them to visit the newly renovated Hayden Planetarium, Ethan's favorite place in the city, and somewhere Lily had never been. "You're going to love it," Ethan enthused, as Thompson drove them through the still quiet morning streets. "They have this star projector that makes you feel like you're floating in space." Lily smiled at his excitement, though her mind was still preoccupied with Maxwell's adoption proposal. She'd spent most of the night thinking about it, weighing the security of becoming a Blackwood against the vulnerability of trusting so completely. Maxwell seemed to sense her inner turmoil. "No pressure about yesterday's conversation, Lily," he said quietly, while Ethan chattered to Mrs. Carter about black holes. "Take all the time you need." The American Museum of Natural History was just opening when they arrived. Maxwell had arranged a private tour before regular hours, one of the perks of being a major donor. Ethan navigated the halls with practiced ease on his crutches, pointing out his favorite exhibits with infectious enthusiasm. In the planetarium, they lay back in special recliners as the dome above them transformed into a stunning recreation of the cosmos. Lily gasped involuntarily as stars bloomed across the artificial sky, galaxies swirled, and nebulae pulsed with color. "Pretty amazing, right?" Ethan whispered beside her. "I never knew there were so many," Lily breathed, transfixed by the vastness above them. The narrator's deep voice filled the space, explaining how stars were born, lived and died, a cycle of creation and destruction that had been ongoing for billions of years. Just like us, Maxwell said softly from Lily's other side, we're all made of stardust, recycled across time. After the planetarium show, they explored the rest of the museum. Lily was particularly drawn to the dioramas of early human life, studying the recreated scenes of ancient families surviving together against the elements. They look like they take care of each other, she observed. That's how we survived as a species, Maxwell explained. By forming families, communities. No one makes it alone, not really. The words resonated with Lily in a way she hadn't expected. Their museum visit concluded with lunch at the museum's restaurant, where Ethan excitedly recounted his favorite parts of the exhibits. As they were finishing dessert, Maxwell's phone buzzed with a message. "Thompson is bringing the car around," he informed them, checking his watch. "We have just enough time for our second surprise." "Another surprise?" Ethan asked eagerly. "What is it?" "You'll see," Maxwell replied with uncharacteristic mystery. Their car headed downtown, eventually stopping before a nondescript building in Chelsea. A sign above the door read, "Western Robotics Lab, Private Research Facility." "Dad?" Ethan questioned as Thompson helped him from the car. "What is this place?" "An investment of mine," Maxwell explained. "They've been working on something I think you'll both find interesting." Inside, they were greeted by a young woman in a lab coat who introduced herself as Dr. Savannah Weston. "Mr. Blackwood, we weren't expecting you until next week," she said, looking slightly flustered. "I wanted to give the children a preview," Maxwell replied. "Is the prototype functional?" "Yes, just finished final calibrations yesterday." "Doctor." Weston led them through a security door into a large laboratory space filled with equipment. "It's over here." In the center of the room stood what appeared to be a pair of mechanical legs, attached to a supportive frame. "This is the Exo Assist," Dr. Weston explained, pride evident in her voice. "A powered exoskeleton designed specifically for children with mobility challenges." Ethan's eyes widened. "Is that for me?" Maxwell nodded. "The team here has been developing it based on your specific measurements and needs. It's still experimental, but Dr. Weston thinks you might be ready to try it. The Exo Assist works by amplifying the user's existing muscle movements," Dr. Weston explained, demonstrating the lightweight frame. "For someone like Ethan, with partial mobility, it could potentially allow for walking without crutches for limited periods." "Can I try it now?" Ethan asked, already moving forward eagerly. "That's why we're here," Maxwell confirmed. For the next hour, technicians carefully fitted Ethan with the experimental exoskeleton, attaching sensors to his legs and calibrating the response systems. Lily watched nervously from beside Maxwell, sensing how momentous this was for Ethan. "Will it hurt him?" she whispered. "No," Maxwell assured her. "I've tested every component myself. It's completely safe." Finally, the preparations were complete. Ethan stood within a walking frame, the exoskeleton gleaming against his jeans. "Remember, small movements at first," Dr. Weston instructed. "The system will learn and adapt to your patterns." Ethan nodded, his face a mask of concentration. Slowly, he shifted his weight forward. The exoskeleton hummed softly, responding to the minute muscle contractions in his legs. His right foot lifted slightly, moved forward, and settled again. "I did it!" he exclaimed. "Dad! Lily! Did you see? I took a step!" "Try another," Dr. Weston encouraged. Gradually, Ethan made his way across the testing area, each step becoming more confident than the last. Tears streamed down his face, but his smile was radiant. "I'm walking," he said wonderingly. "I'm actually walking." Maxwell stood perfectly still beside Lily, but she could see his hands trembling slightly. This clearly meant as much to him as it did to Ethan. After 15 minutes, Dr. Weston called a halt. "That's enough for today. We don't want to overtax your muscles." As the technicians helped remove the exoskeleton, Ethan couldn't stop talking about everything he would do once he had his own unit. "We can walk in the park together, Lily. And I can show you all my favorite places in the city." Maxwell pulled Dr. Weston aside. "How soon until a home version is ready?" "We're close," she replied. "Another month of refinements based on today's data. The challenge is making it lightweight enough for all-day wear while maintaining battery life." "Whatever resources you need, you have them," Maxwell said firmly. "This is priority one." On the drive home, Ethan's excitement was palpable. "Did you see me walking, Lily? Actually walking?" "It was amazing," Lily agreed, genuinely impressed. "You did great." "The doctor said I might never walk without support," Ethan continued, "but Dad didn't accept that. He's been funding research for years." Lily glanced at Maxwell, seeing him in a new light. Behind his reserved exterior was a father who would move mountains for his son. That evening, after Ethan had finally exhausted himself with excitement and fallen asleep, Lily found Maxwell in his study, reviewing data from the day's test. "Can I talk to you?" she asked from the doorway. He set aside his tablet immediately. "Of course. Come in." Lily entered, closing the door behind her. She stood before his desk, hands clasped behind her back, the way she did when making important decisions. "I've been thinking about what you asked, about adoption." Maxwell nodded, giving her space to continue. "All my life people have either left me or sent me away," Lily said carefully. "I learned not to trust promises. But today, I saw what you did for Ethan, not just the robot legs, but how you never gave up finding a way to help him, even when doctors said it wasn't possible." "Blackwoods don't accept limitations," Maxwell said quietly. "Neither the ones others place on us, nor the ones we place on ourselves." "If I become a Blackwood," Lily asked, "would you do that for me too? Not give up even when things seem impossible?" "Lily," Maxwell said, standing and coming around the desk, "I already consider you as much my child as Ethan. The adoption would just make official what's already true in my heart." Lily took a deep breath. "Then yes. I want to be adopted. I want to be a Blackwood." Maxwell's smile was transformed with genuine joy, the first time Lily had seen such unguarded emotion from him. "You've just made us both very happy." "There's one more thing," Lily said, her voice growing serious again. "The night you found Ethan in the park, I wasn't just passing by. I was following him." Maxwell's expression shifted to confusion. "Following him? Why?" "I'd seen him before, in the park with his caretaker. I noticed how she would leave him alone, how she didn't really watch him." Lily's words came faster now, as if unburdening a long-held secret. "That day I saw her leave, I was going to. I was thinking maybe I could take his phone or his watch, something to sell. We were having a really cold week and I was desperate." She looked down, unable to meet Maxwell's eyes. "But then he fell, and he looked so scared and alone. I couldn't just leave him there. So the girl I've been crediting with saving my son initially planned to rob him," Maxwell said slowly. Lily nodded miserably. "I'll understand if you change your mind about the adoption." To her surprise, Maxwell began to laugh, a genuine, deep laugh that she'd never heard from him before. "Lily Tucker," he said, shaking his head, "you are absolutely the perfect addition to this family." "You're not mad?" "Mad? No. Impressed by your honesty? Absolutely." He knelt to her level, meeting her eyes directly. "We all have moments where we consider the wrong choice. What defines us is the choice we actually make when it matters. And you, Lily, made the right choice when it counted most." He held out his hand. "So shall we make it official? Would you do me the honor of becoming Lily Blackwood?" Lily ignored his outstretched hand and instead threw her arms around his neck in a fierce hug, her first genuine embrace since losing her grandmother. "Yes," she whispered. "I want to be Lily Blackwood." What neither of them could know was that forces were already in motion that would soon threaten their newly formed family bond. Forces set in motion by Maxwell's enemies, who saw his attachment to his children as his greatest vulnerability. 3 months after Lily's decision to become a Blackwood, the adoption process was progressing steadily. Maxwell's attorneys had filed the necessary paperwork, background checks had been completed, and home studies conducted. The hearing date was set for April, just before Lily's 8th birthday. Winter had settled firmly over New York, turning the city into a glittering snow globe. Inside the Blackwood penthouse, preparations for Christmas were underway. The first real Christmas Lily could remember celebrating since her grandmother died. "Have you ever had a Christmas tree this big?" Ethan asked as they decorated a 12-foot Norwegian spruce that dominated the living room. Lily shook her head, carefully hanging the delicate glass ornament Maxwell had told her once belonged to his late wife. "My grandma and I had a little plastic one, about as tall as me." "Well, this one's taller than Dad," Ethan said proudly. "And he's super tall." Mrs. Carter supervised their decorating efforts, occasionally redirecting their enthusiasm when ornaments clustered too densely in one section. "Spread them out, children. And Ethan, remember the star goes on last." Maxwell had been even busier than usual over the past weeks, often returning home after the children were asleep. When Lily questioned this, Mrs. Carter explained he was working to complete major business deals before taking time off for the holidays. "He's promised 2 full weeks without work," she told Lily. "That's unheard of for Mr. Blackwood." On this particular evening, Lily was perched precariously on a stepladder, attempting to hang an ornament on a high branch, when the elevator doors opened and Maxwell strode in, accompanied by a tall, elegantly dressed woman with striking platinum blonde hair. "Careful there, Lily," Maxwell called, quickening his pace across the room to steady the ladder. "Here, let me help you with that." "I've got it," Lily insisted, determined to reach the branch herself. The blonde woman watched with unconcealed curiosity. "So, this is the famous Lily I've been hearing about." Maxwell completed the introductions. "Lily, this is Vanessa Hargrove, a colleague of mine. Vanessa, this is Lily, soon to be officially Lily Blackwood." "Charmed," Vanessa said in a tone that suggested anything but. Her gaze swept over Lily critically, taking in her simple jeans and sweater. "Maxwell, you didn't mention she was so petite." "I'm average height for 7, Lily responded flatly. "And sharp-tongued, too," Vanessa observed with a thin smile. She turned to Maxwell. "She's certainly not what I expected when you said you were adopting." Ethan, sensing the tension, maneuvered his crutches across the room. "Dad, can we show Lily the Christmas surprise now?" "Not yet, buddy," Maxwell replied, ruffling his son's hair. "That's for Christmas Eve, remember?" He checked his watch. "Vanessa and I need to review some documents in my study. We won't be long." As the adults disappeared down the hallway, Lily climbed down from the ladder. "I don't like her," she declared. "Ms. Hargrove?" Ethan shrugged. "She's okay. She works with Dad a lot. I think she wants to marry him or something." "What?" Lily's eyes widened. "That's what Thompson told Mrs. Carter. I heard them talking." Mrs. Carter, overhearing, shook her head disapprovingly. "Ethan, it's not polite to repeat private conversations." "Is it true?" Lily pressed. "Mrs. Carter busied herself straightening ornaments. "Miss Hargrove has made her intentions quite clear over the years. Mr. Blackwood, however, has not reciprocated." "Good," Lily said decisively. "She looks at me like I'm something stuck to her shoe." Later that evening, after Ethan had gone to bed, Lily found herself restless. The encounter with Vanessa had unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. Slipping out of her room, she padded silently toward the kitchen for a glass of water. As she passed Maxwell's study, she heard raised voices. "Absolutely reckless, Maxwell," Vanessa was saying. "The board is already questioning your judgment. Taking in some street urchin—" "Don't call her that," Maxwell's voice was cold. "And my personal decisions are not the board's concern. They become the board's concern when they affect Blackwood Industries. Have you considered what this adoption will look like to our shareholders? A homeless child with no background, no breeding. Maxwell's laugh was harsh. "You sound like you're discussing a show dog, not a child." "I'm trying to protect you," Vanessa insisted. "Have you even considered she might be after your money? Or that her sudden appearance might not be as coincidental as it seems? She's 7 years old, Vanessa. Children can be manipulated, used by adults with agendas." "That's enough," Maxwell said firmly. "I've made my decision. Lily will be my daughter, legally and in every other way. If the board has concerns, they can address them to me directly. The Jensen merger will proceed as planned. My family life has no bearing on it." There was a moment of silence. Then Vanessa spoke again, her voice softer. "Max, we've known each other for 15 years. I'm saying this as someone who cares about you. This girl is not Catherine. You can't replace what you lost." "This has nothing to do with Catherine," Maxwell replied, though Lily detected a hint of uncertainty. "Doesn't it? A vulnerable child who needs saving. It's classic displacement." "I think you should leave," Maxwell said coldly. Lily retreated quickly as the study door opened. She ducked into an alcove, watching as Vanessa strode toward the elevator, her posture rigid with anger. Maxwell stood in the hallway, rubbing his temples tiredly. "You can come out now, Lily," he said without turning. Sheepishly, Lily emerged from her hiding place. "How did you know I was there?" "The third floorboard from the guest wing always creaks," Maxwell said, a small smile softening his features. "My security team has been after me to fix it for years. I never saw the point until now." "I'm sorry for eavesdropping," Lily said, though she wasn't entirely sorry. "Is she right? Am I causing problems for your company?" Maxwell sighed, kneeling to her level. "No. Vanessa is concerned about appearances, not reality. Blackwood Industries is mine to run as I see fit." "She said I was a replacement," Lily said quietly. "For Ethan's mom." Maxwell's expression tightened. "Vanessa has a habit of analyzing situations to suit her own agenda. You're not a replacement for anyone, Lily. You're you. Unique, irreplaceable. But your board members are employees, not family." Maxwell's tone was final. "Now it's late. You should be in bed." As Lily turned to go, Maxwell called after her. "Lily, the adoption hearing. It's important to you, isn't it?" She nodded. "More than anything." "Then nothing will stand in its way," he promised. "Nothing and no one." What neither of them realized was that Vanessa's departure from the penthouse that night was just the beginning. The seeds of doubt she'd planted would soon blossom into tangible threats, not just to the adoption, but to everything the newly formed Blackwood family held dear. The next morning, Lily awoke to the sounds of raised voices from the kitchen, unusual in the typically serene penthouse. She found Maxwell, still in his robe, arguing heatedly on the phone. "Absolutely not," he was saying. "The timing is too suspicious. Yes, I understand the implications. No, I won't be pressured into this. Fine, set the meeting for tomorrow morning." He hung up, noticing Lily in the doorway. "Good morning," he said, his tone instantly softening. "Sleep well?" "What's wrong?" Lily asked directly. Maxwell hesitated, then sighed. "Adult problems. Nothing for you to worry about." "Is it because of me? What that lady said last night?" "No," Maxwell replied firmly. "It's business, complicated business." But Lily had spent her life reading adults' expressions, detecting their lies. She knew there was more to the story than Maxwell was sharing, and for the first time since accepting his offer of adoption, She felt a flicker of fear that her new life might not be as secure as she'd begun to believe. The Jensen merger collapse dominated financial headlines for weeks. "Blackwood Industries loses billion-dollar deal," screamed the Wall Street Journal. "Maxwell Blackwood's focus questioned amid personal distractions," suggested the Business Times. Though Maxwell tried to shield the children from the fallout, tension permeated the penthouse. Late-night phone calls, emergency meetings, and a parade of lawyers and executives disrupted their previously peaceful routine. "It's not your fault," Ethan assured Lily as they huddled in his room, playing video games while another crisis meeting unfolded in Maxwell's study. "Dad says business goes up and down all the time." Lily wasn't convinced. She'd overheard enough to know that Vanessa Hargrove had been instrumental in turning key board members against the Jensen deal, citing concerns about Maxwell's changing priorities and questionable judgment. The situation worsened when, a week after the merger collapsed, Ms. Hartley from Child Protective Services arrived for an unscheduled visit. "We've received some concerning reports," she explained, as Maxwell showed her into the living room. "Anonymous tips suggesting the home environment may have become unstable." "Unstable?" Maxwell repeated incredulously. "That's absurd." "Nevertheless, I'm required to investigate." Miss Hartley turned to Lily, who had been reading with Ethan nearby. "Lily, could we speak privately?" In Lily's bedroom, Ms. Hartley conducted a thorough interview, asking pointed questions about Maxwell's working hours, his temperament, whether there had been arguments or financial discussions in front of the children. "Mr. Blackwood is perfectly fine," Lily insisted, growing increasingly frustrated. "He works a lot, but he always makes time for us. He's teaching me chess, and he reads to Ethan every night, and the recent business difficulties," Ms. Hartley probed. "Have they affected his behavior toward you?" "No, he's been extra nice, actually, making sure we don't worry." Ms. Hartley made notes on her tablet. "And the woman who visits, Ms. Hargrove?" Lily stiffened. "She doesn't visit. She came once, for business." "I see." More notes. "And your own background, Lily. Before coming here, there seems to be very little official documentation about your circumstances." "My grandma died in a fire," Lily said flatly. "I was in foster care. I ran away. Mr. Blackwood's lawyers found all the records." "Yes, but before your grandmother? The period between your parents' death and when your grandmother took custody? There's a significant gap." Lily frowned. "I don't remember much. I was really little." "Of course." Miss Hartley's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Just routine questions to complete your file before the adoption hearing." After Ms. Hartley departed, Maxwell found Lily in the window seat of her room, knees pulled to her chest, staring out at the darkening city. "Lily," he said gently, "Mrs. Carter said you didn't come down for dinner." "I'm not hungry." Maxwell sat beside her. "Miss Hartley's visit was just procedural, nothing to worry about." "She asked about before Grandma," Lily said quietly. "I don't remember much, just pieces." "Your file shows you were with your grandmother from age 3, after your parents died in a car accident," Maxwell said. "Is there something else? Something troubling you?" Lily hesitated. "Sometimes I have dreams, bad ones, about a dark place and yelling, but I don't know if they're real memories or just dreams." Maxwell's expression softened with concern. "Have you had these dreams often?" "More lately," Lily admitted, "since Miss Hartley started asking about before." "Would you like to talk to someone about them? A child psychologist might help sort out what's memory and what's dream." Lily shook her head emphatically. "No doctors. They always think something's wrong with you." "All right," Maxwell conceded. "No doctors unless you want them. But if the dreams get worse, or if you change your mind, just let me know." He paused. "Lily, no matter what happened before, you're safe now. I promise you that." Despite his reassurance, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something was unraveling. The stability she'd cautiously begun to trust seemed suddenly precarious, threatened by business rivals, anonymous reports, and gaps in her own history she couldn't explain. The following week brought a new development. Maxwell returned from work earlier than usual, his expression grave as he called a family meeting in the living room. "I need to discuss something important with both of you," he began once they were settled. "The company is facing some challenges right now, which means I'll need to travel more than usual in the coming months." "For how long?" Ethan asked anxiously. "The first trip is to our Shanghai office. I'll be gone for about 10 days. 10 days? Ethan looked stricken. "But you've never been gone that long before." "I know, buddy. I don't want to go, but it's necessary to stabilize our Asian partnerships after the Jensen situation." Maxwell turned to Lily. "Mrs. Carter will be here the entire time, and Thompson will handle your transportation needs. My absence won't affect the adoption proceedings. My lawyers will continue preparing for the hearing." Lily nodded, keeping her expression neutral despite the worry gnawing at her stomach. "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow evening," Maxwell admitted, confirming her suspicion that this wasn't a new development, but a decision he'd delayed sharing. That night, unable to sleep, Lily crept to Ethan's room. She found him still awake, playing with the specialized tablet Maxwell had designed for him, one that responded to minimal hand movement for the days when his fine motor control was compromised. "Do you think he's leaving because of me?" Lily asked without preamble. Ethan set the tablet aside. "No way. Dad never travels unless he absolutely has to. He hates being away from home." "Things are different now, though," Lily pointed out. "His business is in trouble. People are blaming me." "Not Dad," Ethan said firmly. "Never Dad." "Maybe I should go away for a while," Lily suggested, "just until things calm down for him." Ethan's eyes widened in alarm. "You can't leave. You're going to be my sister." "I'm not saying forever," Lily clarified. "Just until after his big trip. I could stay somewhere else, and then his board would see I'm not distracting him." "That's the dumbest idea ever," Ethan declared. "It would just make Dad worry more, and then he definitely couldn't focus on work." Lily had to admit Ethan had a point. "I just want to help." "Then help by staying," Ethan said simply. "That's what family does. We stick together, especially when things get hard." The next evening, as Maxwell prepared to depart for his flight to Shanghai, Lily stood awkwardly in the foyer, unsure of the proper protocol for saying goodbye. In her experience, when adults left, they didn't always come back. Maxwell knelt to embrace Ethan, promising video calls every morning and evening. Then he turned to Lily, who stood with her hands clasped tightly behind her back. "Come here," he said gently, opening his arms. After a moment's hesitation, Lily stepped forward, allowing herself to be enfolded in a brief hug. "I'll be back before you know it," Maxwell promised. "And Lily, while I'm gone, remember this is your home. No matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, you belong here now." As the elevator doors closed behind him, Lily felt a strange hollowness in her chest. The enormous penthouse suddenly seemed empty, despite Mrs. Carter's bustling presence and Ethan's endless chatter. That night the dreams came again, more vivid than before. Dark rooms, angry voices, the sensation of being small and trapped. Lily woke, gasping, sheets twisted around her legs, the phantom sound of shouting still echoing in her ears. Slipping from her bed, she padded to the window, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. Far below, the city pulsed with midnight energy, indifferent to the turmoil of one small girl. "It's just a dream," she whispered to herself. "Just a dream." But somewhere deep inside, Lily knew it wasn't just a dream. It was memory struggling to surface. Memory of a time before her grandmother, before the relative safety of her early childhood. And whatever that memory contained, it was fighting to be remembered now, just when her new life seemed most vulnerable. 3 days into Maxwell's absence, Lily was awakened by urgent voices in the hallway. Creeping to her door, she peered out to see Mrs. Carter speaking intently with Thompson, both of their expressions grave in the pre-dawn light. "Absolutely certain?" Mrs. Carter was asking. "The report just hit the international wires," Thompson confirmed. "Flight diverted to Seoul after Mr. Blackwood became seriously ill. He's been admitted to Seoul National University Hospital." "Have you reached Dr. Winters?" Thompson nodded. "She's arranging emergency privileges and consulting with the Korean medical team now." "And the children?" Mrs. Carter glanced toward the bedrooms. "What do we tell them?" "The truth, but carefully," Thompson advised. "Mr. Blackwood was explicit about that in his contingency protocols." Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. Contingency protocols. Seriously ill. The phrases swirled in her mind as she backed away from the door, just as she'd feared, just as experience had taught her to expect. Another adult was disappearing from her life, and the adoption hearing was only 3 weeks away. For 3 days, the Blackwood penthouse existed in a state of suspended animation. Mrs. Carter maintained a facade of routine for the children's sake, but the strain showed in the tightness around her eyes, the way she checked her phone constantly. The official story, delivered gently over breakfast the morning after Lily had overheard Thompson and Mrs. Carter, was that Maxwell had contracted a severe case of pneumonia during his flight and was receiving excellent care in Seoul. Video calls were impossible due to his condition, but he was expected to recover fully. "When is he coming home?" Ethan had asked, his voice small. "As soon as the doctors say he can travel safely," Mrs. Carter assured him. "Your father is very strong, Ethan. He'll be back before you know it." Lily, however, had detected the careful evasions in Mrs. Carter's answers. The pneumonia story made sense, but something about the urgency she'd witnessed in that pre-dawn conversation suggested a more serious situation. On the 4th day, Lily was attempting to focus on the math worksheet her tutor had assigned when she noticed an unfamiliar black sedan parked outside the building's entrance. Through the penthouse windows, she watched as 3 men in suits emerged and entered the building. 20 minutes later, the private elevator announced visitors. Mrs. Carter hurried to meet them, ordering the children to remain in the study. "Stay with your brother," she instructed Lily, a slip that under normal circumstances would have delighted Lily, to be referred to so naturally as Ethan's sister. Of course, Lily had no intention of staying put. The moment Mrs. Carter left, she crept to the hallway, positioning herself behind a decorative column with a clear view of the foyer. The elevator doors opened to reveal the 3 men she'd spotted outside, accompanied by a 4th she recognized instantly, Walter Prescott, Blackwood Industries' chief operating officer. Lily had met him at the company's Christmas party, where he'd regarded her with thinly veiled skepticism. "Mrs. Carter," Prescott greeted, his tone clipped. "I apologize for the unannounced visit, but circumstances require immediate action." "Mr. Blackwood left explicit instructions," Mrs. Carter began. "Mr. Blackwood is incapacitated," Prescott interrupted. "The board has invoked the contingency governance protocols, Section 7. 2 specifically authorizes temporary transfer of residential decision-making in the event of the CEO's extended incapacitation. Mr. Blackwood is expected to recover fully," Mrs. Carter insisted. "We certainly hope so," Prescott replied, though his tone lacked conviction. "In the meantime, these gentlemen are from Family Services. The board has concerns about the current guardianship situation." From her hiding place, Lily felt ice spread through her veins. She knew what Family Services meant. They were coming to take her away. One of the suited men stepped forward, introducing himself as Gregory Wells from the Department of Child Welfare. "We've received concerning reports about an unauthorized minor residing in Mr. Blackwood's residence. Given Mr. Blackwood's medical emergency and the incomplete adoption process, The board has requested we conduct an emergency assessment. This is highly irregular, Mrs. Carter protested. The children are well cared for, and Mr. Blackwood has legal temporary guardianship of Lily. A guardianship that requires his direct supervision, Wells pointed out. With Mr. Blackwood hospitalized overseas and no clear timeline for his return, we must ensure proper arrangements are made. What exactly are you proposing? Mrs. Carter demanded. Temporary placement of the child in question until Mr. Blackwood returns or alternative permanent arrangements can be made, Wells replied smoothly. Before Mrs. Carter could respond, Lily stepped from her hiding place. I'm not going anywhere. All heads turned toward her. Prescott's expression tightened with annoyance, while Wells offered what he clearly thought was a reassuring smile. You must be Lily, he said. We just want what's best for you, especially during this difficult time. What's best for me is staying here, Lily replied firmly, with Ethan and Mrs. Carter. I'm afraid that's not possible without a legal guardian present, Wells explained. It's for your own protection. Protection from what? Came a new voice. Ethan had maneuvered himself into the hallway on his crutches, his face flushed with anger. This is her home. Young man, Prescott began condescendingly. No, Ethan cut him off. I know what you're doing. You're using Dad being sick to get rid of Lily. You and Ms. Hargrove and the others who think Dad shouldn't adopt her. Prescott's expression confirmed Ethan's accusation more clearly than any denial could have. This isn't personal, Wells insisted. It's procedure. Then I'm calling our lawyer, Mrs. Carter declared, reaching for her phone. That won't be necessary, said another voice, cool, cultured, and unmistakably authoritative. Vanessa Hargrove stepped from the elevator, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit. I've already consulted with legal. Miss Hargrove has no authority here, Mrs. Carter said sharply. Actually, I do, Vanessa countered, producing a document from her briefcase. As of this morning, the board has appointed me interim CEO of Blackwood Industries, with all associated responsibilities, including supervision of the Blackwood Trust, which controls this residence. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Lily looked to Mrs. Carter, whose face had gone pale. That's impossible, Mrs. Carter whispered. Mr. Blackwood would never authorize that. Mr. Blackwood isn't in a position to authorize anything, Vanessa replied. His condition is considerably more serious than you've been told. The doctors are not optimistic about a full recovery. You're lying, Ethan said, his voice breaking. Dad's fine. He promised he'd come back. Vanessa's expression softened marginally. I'm sorry, Ethan. Your father suffered a major stroke on the flight to Shanghai. He's stable but unresponsive. The world seemed to tilt beneath Lily's feet. A stroke, unresponsive. The clinical terms couldn't disguise their devastating meaning. Now, Vanessa continued briskly, as interim CEO and trustee, I've reviewed the situation and agree with Child Welfare's assessment. Until Maxwell recovers, if he recovers, the girl should be placed in appropriate care. My name is Lily, Lily said through clenched teeth, and I'm going to be a Blackwood. I'm afraid that's no longer a realistic expectation, Vanessa replied. The adoption proceedings will be suspended indefinitely. You can't do that, Ethan shouted, his crutches clattering as he lurched forward. Dad wanted her to be my sister. He promised. Your father made many promises he couldn't keep, Vanessa said, her tone softening with what might have been genuine sympathy. I'm trying to protect both of you now, Ethan. Your father trusted me to take care of things if something happened to him. No, he didn't, Lily contradicted, sudden certainty filling her. If Mr. Blackwood had trusted you, you wouldn't need all these people to force your way in. For a moment, Vanessa's composed facade cracked, revealing a flash of genuine anger. Then the mask slipped back into place. Mr. Wells, she said coolly, please proceed with the placement arrangements. Wells stepped forward, extending his hand toward Lily. Come with me, young lady. We'll find you a nice place to stay until this is all sorted out. Lily backed away, bumping into Ethan's wheelchair. I'm not going. This is happening with or without your cooperation, Vanessa stated. You can make it easy or difficult, but the outcome will be the same. Mrs. Carter moved to stand between the officials and the children. This is not legal. Maxwell left specific instructions, which are superseded by board action during incapacitation, Prescott interjected. The documents are in order. As the adults argued, Lily felt a light tug on her sleeve. Ethan had moved close beside her, his face set in determination. Command Protocol Sierra, he whispered. Dad's study, now. Confusion flickered across Lily's face, but something in Ethan's expression stopped her questions. Instead, she helped him maneuver backward, the adults too engrossed in their legal debate to notice immediately. What are you doing? She whispered as they retreated down the hallway. Dad always has a backup plan, Ethan replied, his voice steady despite the tears streaking his cheeks. Always. As they reached Maxwell's study, Ethan's words triggered a memory, Maxwell explaining his business philosophy during one of their chess lessons. In business and in life, Lily, always have contingency plans for your contingency plans. Whatever Ethan had in mind, Lily realized, it was their only hope of staying together until Maxwell returned, if he returned at all. Lock the door, Ethan instructed as they entered Maxwell's study. Lily complied, engaging the heavy deadbolt. What now? They'll just break it down. No, they won't, Ethan said with surprising confidence. This room is basically a vault. Dad had it reinforced after Mom died, in case anyone ever tried to get to me. He maneuvered to Maxwell's desk and pressed his palm against a hidden scanner beneath the surface. The computer screen illuminated, displaying a prompt for voice authentication. Sierra Protocol Authorization, Ethan stated clearly. Ethan Blackwood Primary, Authorization Alpha 70. The screen changed, displaying a countdown. Voice print confirmed. Emergency protocol initiating in 60 seconds. What is this? Lily asked, bewildered. Dad's emergency system, Ethan explained, wiping tears from his face with the back of his hand. He made me memorize the codes when I was 5, said if anything ever happened to him, I should activate Sierra Protocol. A pounding on the door interrupted them. Ethan! Lily! Open this door immediately! Vanessa's voice commanded. 30 seconds, the computer announced dispassionately. What happens when it reaches 0? Lily asked. I'm not exactly sure, Ethan admitted. Dad just said it would protect us until he could get back. The pounding intensified. This is childish and counterproductive, Prescott called through the door. You're only making things worse for yourselves. 10 seconds, the computer counted down. Lily took Ethan's hand, both children watching the screen with a mixture of hope and trepidation. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sierra Protocol engaged. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a new voice emanated from the computer speakers, calm, authoritative, and unmistakably belonging to Maxwell Blackwood. If you're hearing this message, Ethan, then you've correctly activated the Sierra Protocol, which means I'm incapacitated, but you're facing immediate threats to our family integrity. First, know that I love you, and whatever's happening, I've prepared for it. Lily and Ethan exchanged glances, the recorded voice of Maxwell bringing both comfort and renewed grief. The Sierra Protocol has now locked down all Blackwood properties and frozen board access to the family trust. Simultaneously, it has alerted 3 individuals. Judge Sandra Martinez, who oversees family court matters involving high-profile cases. Detective Michael Chen, head of NYPD's Family Services Liaison Unit, and Sarah Winters, who has medical power of attorney in my absence. Outside the study, the pounding had stopped. They could hear raised voices, the tone shifting from commanding to concerned. Additionally, Maxwell's recording continued, this protocol activates the Blackwood Family Protection Trust, a separate legal entity from Blackwood Industries. Under this trust, in the event of my incapacitation, temporary guardianship of both Ethan and Lily transfers automatically to Mrs. Eleanor Carter, with financial control managed by independent trustees. This arrangement was legally established 3 weeks after Lily came into our lives. Lily gasped. He already made Mrs. Carter our guardian? The document is in the wall safe, Maxwell's voice explained, as if anticipating the question. Eleanor knows the combination. Judge Martinez has a copy as well. The doorknob rattled again, but more tentatively now. Ethan. Lily. Mrs. Carter's voice came through, sounding both worried and somehow stronger than before. Are you children all right? Something's happening out here. Ms. Hargrove just received a phone call that upset her considerably. Ethan pressed the intercom button on the desk. We're fine, Mrs. Carter. Dad's emergency protocol is working. Emergency protocol? Mrs. Carter repeated, then comprehension dawning in her voice. Sierra, of course. Your father mentioned it might be needed someday. Is it true? Lily asked through the intercom. Did Mr. Blackwood make you our guardian if something happened to him? Yes, dear, Mrs. Carter confirmed. He had the papers drawn up months ago, though I prayed they'd never be needed. I didn't realize the protocol would activate automatically. Mrs. Carter, Vanessa's sharp voice interrupted, this changes nothing. The board still has... Actually, Ms. Hargrove, a new voice interjected, female, authoritative and unfamiliar to Lily, it changes everything. Judge Sandra Martinez, Family Court. I received an automated alert about an emergency guardianship situation involving the Blackwood children. Ethan's face lit up with recognition. That's the judge Dad mentioned. Another voice joined the conversation outside, male, official sounding. Detective Chen, NYPD Family Services. We received a Priority 1 alert regarding potential custodial interference at this address. The final piece of Maxwell's protocol had fallen into place. Through the solid door, they could hear the confusion as Vanessa attempted to explain her presence and authority, increasingly defensive against the calm questioning of the judge and detective. Should we go out there? Lily whispered to Ethan. Ethan shook his head. Not yet. Dad's recording isn't finished. Indeed, Maxwell's voice had continued. Ethan, by now the immediate situation should be stabilizing. Judge Martinez and Detective Chen will ensure no one removes either you or Lily from the residence. But I need you to understand something important. The people threatening our family aren't necessarily evil. They believe they're acting in the best interests of the company, perhaps even in your best interest. The recorded voice softened slightly. And Lily, because I know you're there with Ethan, this protocol exists because you are already a Blackwood in every way that matters. The legal formalities are just paperwork. You became part of this family the moment you gave your coat to a stranger in need. Tears sprang to Lily's eyes at the unexpected personal message. Beside her, Ethan squeezed her hand. Now one final instruction, Maxwell's recording continued. In the bottom drawer of this desk is a secure tablet. The password is the date we visited the planetarium together, formatted month, day, year. Once activated, it will establish a secure connection to my personal servers and provide you with real-time updates on my condition and location. Ethan immediately pulled open the drawer, revealing a sleek black tablet. His fingers flew across the screen, entering the date. The device lit up, displaying a world map with a pulsing dot over South Korea. Status update, the tablet announced in a computerized voice. Maxwell Blackwood currently located at Seoul National University Hospital Intensive Care Unit. Condition, stable but serious. Stroke occurred during flight ST-291. Current medical team. Dr. Hyunjin Park, Neurology, Dr. Seo Yeon Kim, critical care. Dr. Sarah Winters en route, estimated arrival, 3 hours, 42 minutes. He's alive, Ethan whispered, relief evident in his voice. And Dr. Winters is going to him. The tablet will update every hour, Maxwell's recording explained. It also contains video messages from me to both of you, accessible through the folder labeled For After. I recorded these just in case. Well, just in case the worst happens. The implication hung heavily in the air. Maxwell had prepared for the possibility that he might not return. I have to go now, the recording concluded. Remember, both of you, Blackwoods face challenges head-on. We don't give up and we don't give in. I'll come back to you if it's humanly possible. If not, you have each other. Take care of each other. I love you both. The message ended, leaving the study in silence, broken only by Ethan's quiet sniffles. Lily found herself staring at the pulsing dot on the tablet screen, willing it to somehow transmit her thoughts across the ocean. Come back. We need you. A gentle knock at the door pulled them from their thoughts. Children, Mrs. Carter called. It's safe to come out now. Judge Martinez has taken control of the situation. Ethan looked at Lily questioningly. She nodded, reaching for the deadbolt. When the door swung open, they found Mrs. Carter waiting alone, her expression a mixture of concern and pride. You did exactly right, she told them, opening her arms. Both children moved into her embrace, Ethan letting his crutches fall as Mrs. Carter supported his weight, Lily allowing herself to be held with an abandon she'd rarely permitted before. The main living area beyond was strangely empty. Where did everyone go? Lily asked. Ms. Hargrove and Mr. Prescott have left the premises, Mrs. Carter explained, helping Ethan back onto his crutches. Judge Martinez has issued an emergency order confirming my guardianship and barring any removal attempts. Detective Chen is stationed in the lobby as a precaution. And the other men? Lily pressed. The ones who came to take me away? They've been advised that their services are not required, Mrs. Carter said firmly. It seems Mr. Blackwood's legal preparations were considerably more thorough than Ms. Hargrove anticipated. In the living room, they found a distinguished-looking woman in judicial robes sitting calmly on the sofa, reviewing documents on a tablet. She looked up as they entered, her stern expression softening at the sight of the children. Ethan and Lily, I presume, she said, rising. I'm Judge Martinez. Your father has spoken of you both. Is my dad going to be okay? Ethan asked directly. Judge Martinez's expression grew serious. The medical reports I've received suggest his condition is grave, but stable. Doctor, Winters will provide a more detailed assessment once she arrives in Seoul. And what happens to us now? Lily asked, the question that had been foremost in her mind since overhearing Thompson and Mrs. Carter days ago. You stay right here where you belong, Judge Martinez replied firmly. Mrs. Carter has been legally designated as your guardian until your father recovers, or, she hesitated, or until other permanent arrangements become necessary. What about the adoption? Lily pressed. My hearing is in 3 weeks. Judge Martinez exchanged glances with Mrs. Carter before responding. The adoption proceedings will be temporarily paused until your father's condition stabilizes. I give you my word, Lily, that I will personally ensure they resume at the earliest possible opportunity. It wasn't the answer Lily had hoped for, but it was better than she had feared. She would not be taken away, would not be separated from Ethan. They would weather this crisis together, as a family, even if that family was missing its most important member. As evening fell over the city, Lily sat with Ethan in the window seat of his room, both children watching the tablet as it displayed Maxwell's vital signs, tangible proof that across the ocean their father's heart continued to beat. He's going to come back, Ethan said, with the unwavering certainty of a child who had never been abandoned. Dad always keeps his promises. Lily, who had experienced more broken promises in her short life than kept ones, said nothing. But as she watched the steady rhythm of Maxwell's heartbeat translated into digital pulses on the screen, she found herself hoping, against experience, against reason, that Ethan might be right. 3 weeks passed with agonizing slowness. The tablet provided regular updates on Maxwell's condition, patient showing increased neural activity, responsive to stimuli, attempted verbal communication. Each small improvement kindled hope, tempered by Dr. Winters's cautious video reports from Seoul. The type of stroke Maxwell suffered was severe, she explained during one update, her face grave despite the clinical detachment of her words. While he's making remarkable progress, recovery will be measured in months, not days or weeks. Life in the penthouse settled into a new routine. Mrs. Carter, officially instated as their guardian, managed the household with steady competence. Judge Martinez visited regularly, bringing updates on the legal battle unfolding at Blackwood Industries, where Vanessa's attempt to consolidate power had met unexpected resistance from key board members. Detective Chen maintained a discreet security presence, though the initial threats of removal had not been repeated. The media, initially frenzied with speculation about Maxwell's condition and the mysterious street child he'd been planning to adopt, eventually found fresher scandals to pursue. Through it all, Ethan and Lily drew closer, finding strength in their shared worry. Ethan channeled his anxiety into obsessive monitoring of the medical updates, while Lily focused on practical matters, ensuring Ethan ate properly, completed his therapy exercises, and maintained his studies with the tutors Mrs. Carter insisted should continue their regular schedule. The original date for Lily's adoption hearing came and went, marked only by a quiet acknowledgement from Mrs. Carter and a special dessert at dinner. Lily pretended not to care, but that night, alone in her room, she finally allowed herself to cry, not just for the postponed adoption, but for Maxwell, for Ethan, for the fragile happiness that had been snatched away just as she'd begun to trust it. Then, exactly 1 month after Maxwell's stroke, the tablet chimed with an urgent update during breakfast. "Status change," the computerized voice announced. Patient Maxwell Blackwood regained consciousness at 03:42 Seoul time. Cognitive functions being assessed. Dr. Sarah Winters requests immediate video connection. Ethan dropped his spoon with a clatter. "Dad's awake!" Mrs. Carter hurried to activate the video link on the kitchen's wall screen. After a moment of static, Dr. Winters' tired but smiling face appeared. "Good news," she began without preamble. "Maxwell regained consciousness early this morning. He's alert, recognized me immediately, and his preliminary cognitive assessments are encouraging." "Can we see him?" Ethan asked eagerly. "Actually, yes," Dr. Winters replied, her smile widening. "He's been asking for you both since the moment he could speak. Let me move the camera." The view shifted, focusing on a hospital bed where Maxwell Blackwood lay propped against pillows. He looked thinner, paler than they remembered, with a new streak of silver at his temple that hadn't been there before. But his eyes, those were unchanged, alert and focused as they found the camera. "Ethan," he said, his voice raspy but clear. "Lily." "Dad!" Ethan cried, leaning toward the screen as if he could physically reach through it. "You're really okay." "Getting there," Maxwell replied with a weak smile. "Sierra Protocol worked as designed?" "Yes," Ethan confirmed proudly. "Just like you showed me." Maxwell's gaze shifted. "Lily, you're still there? Still? With us?" Something in his uncertain phrasing made Lily's chest tighten. He'd feared she might be gone, taken away or fled on her own. "I'm here," she assured him, moving closer to the screen. "Mrs. Carter's taking good care of us." Relief visibly washed over Maxwell's features. "Good, that's good. Mr. Blackwood needs to rest now, Doctor." Winters interjected gently, "But I wanted you all to see each other. We'll arrange daily video calls moving forward." "When are you coming home?" Ethan asked, the question that had been constant in both children's minds. Maxwell and Dr. Winters exchanged glances before he answered, "Not right away, buddy. The doctors want to monitor me here for at least another week. Then, if all goes well, I'll transfer to Mount Sinai for rehabilitation." "But you are coming back," Lily pressed, needing the certainty. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away," Maxwell promised, his gaze intensifying. "Lily, the adoption—" "Judge Martinez said it's just paused," she interrupted quickly. "It's okay, I understand." "No," Maxwell said with sudden strength. "Not paused. Delayed. There's a difference. I made a promise to you, and I intend to keep it." Before Lily could respond, Dr. Winters stepped in again. "That's enough for now. Maxwell needs rest, and you children need to get to your studies. We'll connect again tomorrow, same time." As the screen went dark, the penthouse erupted in celebration. Mrs. Carter permitted a rare deviation from the schedule, declaring studies postponed for the day. Even Thompson smiled broadly when he arrived for his security shift, the news having already reached him through Detective Chen. That evening, as normalcy began to feel possible again, Lily sat in the window seat of her room, watching the city lights emerge against the darkening sky. A soft knock announced Ethan, who joined her without waiting for an invitation, a habit he'd developed over the past month. "Dad looked better than I expected," he said, settling beside her. Lily nodded. "Dr. Winters says he still has a long way to go, though." "But he's coming back," Ethan insisted. "That's what matters." "Yeah," Lily agreed, though a shadow of doubt lingered. The Maxwell they'd seen on screen was noticeably changed, physically weaker, certainly. But there had been something else, too. A vulnerability that hadn't existed before. "What if he's different when he comes home?" She voiced her concern. "What if he changes his mind about things?" Ethan considered this seriously. "Dad might be different. Dr. Winters says stroke patients sometimes are, but he won't change his mind about us. That's not how he works." Lily wished she could share Ethan's certainty. Her experience had taught her that adults' promises were conditional, dependent on circumstances remaining unchanged. And circumstances had definitely changed. "Hey," Ethan nudged her gently, "remember what Dad always says in chess?" "What?" "The best players adapt their strategy to changing conditions without losing sight of their ultimate objective." Ethan quoted perfectly. "Dad's ultimate objective is us, you and me. Everything else is just strategy." Despite her lingering doubts, Lily found comfort in Ethan's confidence. Over the past month, she'd discovered that while she was physically stronger and more street-smart, Ethan possessed an emotional resilience that sometimes surpassed her own. A bedrock belief in family that even this crisis hadn't shaken. The following weeks brought steady improvement in Maxwell's condition. Daily video calls became a fixture of their routine, each one showing small but significant progress. Stronger voice, more sustained attention, increased physical mobility. Dr. Winters provided medical context for these improvements, her clinical assessments gradually shifting from cautious to optimistic. 6 weeks after regaining consciousness, Maxwell was deemed stable enough for transfer to Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. The news triggered a flurry of activity in the penthouse as Mrs. Carter supervised preparations for his eventual return home. The East Wing guest suite will need to be converted to a recovery room, she instructed the contractors Maxwell's team had arranged. Mr. Blackwood will require specialized equipment for his rehabilitation exercises. Lily watched these preparations with mixed emotions. Maxwell's return meant facing the reality of his changed condition. Whatever that might be, it also meant confronting the question of the adoption, whether it would proceed as planned or be indefinitely delayed. The night before Maxwell's scheduled transfer, Lily found herself unable to sleep. Restless energy drove her from bed to wander the darkened penthouse. She paused at the door to Maxwell's study, which had remained largely untouched since the day of the Sierra Protocol activation. On impulse, she entered, the room's familiar scent of leather and Maxwell's subtle cologne bringing an unexpected wave of emotion. The tablet they'd used to monitor his condition still sat on the desk, though they now relied on direct communication rather than its automated updates. Curious, Lily picked it up, the screen illuminating at her touch. She navigated to the folder labeled "For After," the one containing the video messages Maxwell had recorded in case he didn't survive. Her finger hovered over the icon. These were private messages, meant for a future that thankfully hadn't come to pass. Yet something compelled her forward, perhaps the need for reassurance that the Maxwell who had wanted to adopt her still existed beneath the changed man they saw on their video calls. She selected the file with her name and pressed play. Maxwell's face appeared on screen, healthy, strong, exactly as she remembered him. The timestamp showed the recording had been made just 2 days before his departure for Shanghai. "Lily," he began, his expression serious but warm. "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone, and for that, I'm deeply sorry. Sorry to leave you when we were just becoming a family. Sorry to break my promise about the adoption." He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. "I need you to know something important. Bringing you into our lives was one of the best decisions I ever made. Not just for Ethan, who has flourished with you as his sister, but for me too." Maxwell's expression softened further. "Before you found Ethan in that park, I was surviving, not living. Focused on building wealth and security, but missing what really matters. You reminded me how to live in the moment, how to see joy in small things." Tears blurred Lily's vision as Maxwell continued. "The legal adoption would have made you a Blackwood in name, but you've been a Blackwood in spirit from the day you gave your coat to my son. That courage, that selflessness, that's what being a Blackwood truly means." He leaned closer to the camera. "I've made arrangements for your future. The same trust that provides for Ethan will provide for you. Mrs. Carter will continue as your guardian until you're of age. You'll have every opportunity, every advantage I would have given you myself. But material things aren't what matter most," Maxwell continued. "What matters is that you know, without doubt, that you were loved, that you were wanted, that you belonged with us, completely and without reservation." His voice grew thick with emotion. "My greatest regret is not being there to watch you grow up, to see the extraordinary woman you'll become. But know this, Lily, wherever I am proud of you, proud to call you my daughter." The video ended, freezing on Maxwell's face, earnest, loving, absolutely certain in his conviction that Lily was his daughter in every way that mattered. Lily sat motionless, tears streaming down her face, the tablet clutched in her hands. She'd been so worried that Maxwell might change his mind about the adoption, might no longer want her as his daughter. But this message, recorded when he believed he might never see her again, contained no ambivalence, no hesitation, only clear, unwavering certainty that she was already family. "Lily," Ethan's voice came softly from the doorway. "What are you doing?" She quickly wiped her tears. "Nothing, just thinking." Ethan maneuvered himself into the study, noticing the tablet. "You watched Dad's messages?" Lily nodded, feeling suddenly guilty. "Just mine. I shouldn't have, but—" "I watched mine too," Ethan admitted, surprising her. "Last week. I needed to. I don't know, make sure he was still Dad. That the stroke hadn't changed who he really is." "And?" "He's still Dad," Ethan said with certainty. "Different maybe, but still Dad where it counts." Lily carefully set the tablet down. "He's coming home tomorrow." "Well, to the hospital," Ethan corrected, but close enough that we can visit every day. Everything's going to change again, Lily observed. Ethan shrugged. Maybe. But we'll handle it together. That's what Blackwoods do. I'm not officially a Blackwood yet, Lily reminded him. Details, Ethan dismissed with a wave. You heard the Sierra Protocol message. Dad said you're already family in every way that matters. As they returned to their rooms, Lily felt a strange sense of peace settle over her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, adjustments, realities to face. But for the first time since Maxwell's collapse, she felt genuinely hopeful. Not just that he would recover, but that the family they'd begun to build might still be possible. What she couldn't know was that Maxwell's return to New York would set in motion events that would test their newfound stability in ways none of them could anticipate, forcing Lily to make the most difficult choice of her young life. The pediatric ward at Mount Sinai Hospital buzzed with activity as Lily and Ethan made their way toward the rehabilitation wing, accompanied by Mrs. Carter and the ever-present Thompson. 3 days had passed since Maxwell's transfer from Seoul, but this was the children's first visit, delayed by doctor's orders to give him time to settle into the new facility. Remember, Mrs. Carter cautioned as they approached his room, your father will look different than he did on our video calls. The journey was taxing, and he's still regaining his strength. Ethan nodded solemnly, but Lily could sense his nervous energy as he gripped his crutches tighter. For her part, Lily felt strangely calm. The video message she'd watched had somehow prepared her, not for Maxwell's physical condition, but for the essence of what mattered, his unwavering commitment to their family. Dr. Winters met them at the door, her professional demeanor softening at the sight of the children. He's been counting the minutes, she told them with a smile. Just remember, short visit today, 20 minutes maximum. She ushered them into a private room where Maxwell sat in a specialized wheelchair near the window. He turned at their entrance, his face lighting with genuine joy despite the evident fatigue in his features. There they are, he said, his voice stronger than it had been on their last video call, but still lacking its former resonance. My children. Ethan moved forward immediately, navigating his crutches with practiced ease to reach his father's side. Maxwell embraced him with his right arm, his left remaining motionless in his lap, evidence of the partial paralysis Dr. Winters had prepared them for. After a moment, Maxwell looked past Ethan to where Lily hung back uncertainly. Lily, he said, extending his good hand toward her. Come here. She approached slowly, cataloguing the changes, the deeper lines around his eyes, the slight drooping on the left side of his face, the new silver threading through his dark hair. But his eyes, those were unchanged, clear and focused as they met hers. You're really back, she said, taking his offered hand. I promised, didn't I? Maxwell replied, squeezing her fingers gently. Blackwoods keep their promises. The simple statement, delivered with such certainty despite his weakened state, broke through Lily's careful composure. Tears welled unexpectedly as she allowed herself to be drawn into a one-armed embrace alongside Ethan. Now, Maxwell said when he released them, his voice brisk despite its new limitations, tell me everything I've missed. And don't edit. I want the full report. For the next 20 minutes, Ethan dominated the conversation, detailing everything from their daily routines to the continued standoff at Blackwood Industries, where Vanessa Hargrove's interim leadership was being increasingly challenged by a faction of board members loyal to Maxwell. Lily remained quieter, observing Maxwell closely. He listened attentively to Ethan, asking occasional questions, but she noticed the effort it cost him, the slight tremor in his right hand, the way he sometimes searched for words, the fatigue that progressively shadowed his eyes. When Dr. Winters returned to end the visit, Maxwell held up his hand. One moment, Sarah. There's something important I need to discuss with Lily. Dr. Winters hesitated, then nodded. 2 minutes, Max. You're pushing your limits already." After she stepped out, Maxwell turned to Lily with renewed focus. "Judge Martinez visited yesterday. We discussed your adoption." Lily's heart quickened. "You don't have to worry about that now. It can wait until you're better." "No," Maxwell said firmly. "It's waited long enough. The judge has agreed to reschedule the hearing for next month with accommodations for my condition." "But," Lily began. "No buts," Maxwell interrupted. "This is happening, Lily, unless you've changed your mind." The question caught her by surprise. "Of course not. I just thought with everything that's happened that I might have changed mine," Maxwell finished. "Not a chance. If anything, this experience has only confirmed what I already knew. Life is unpredictable and precious. Family is what matters, and you, Lily Tucker, are family." The simple declaration, so similar to the words in his recorded message, filled Lily with unexpected warmth. "Okay," she agreed softly. "Next month." Dr. Winters returned, insistent this time. "That's it for today. Your father needs rest." As they prepared to leave, Maxwell caught Lily's hand once more. "One more thing," he said, his voice lowering. "In my study there's a chess set, the one we were using for your lessons. Would you bring it tomorrow? The doctors say chess is good cognitive exercise." Lily nodded, recognizing the request for what it was. Not just a therapeutic tool, but a desire to reclaim normal activities, to connect through their shared interest. The following weeks fell into a new routine. School in the mornings with their tutors, afternoons at the hospital with Maxwell, evenings at home with Mrs. Carter. Maxwell's recovery progressed steadily. Speech therapy, improving his occasional word-finding difficulties. Physical therapy, slowly restoring function to his left side. The chess games became a daily ritual. Maxwell's strategic abilities remained largely intact, though he tired more quickly than before. He used these sessions not just for play, but for conversation, particularly with Lily, drawing her out about her past, her hopes, her fears about the upcoming adoption. "You know," he told her during one game, carefully moving his knight with his still unsteady right hand, "this whole experience has been clarifying. Nothing like nearly dying to sort out one's priorities." "And what are your priorities now?" Lily asked, studying the board. "Family first. Always." Maxwell watched as she captured his pawn. "The company, the money, they're just tools, means to an end. I think I lost sight of that after Catherine died." "And now?" Lily prompted. "Now I see with perfect clarity," Maxwell replied, his gaze steady despite his weakened physical state. "Everything I've built means nothing if not shared with those I love." 2 weeks before the rescheduled adoption hearing, as winter began yielding to early spring, an unexpected visitor arrived at the hospital during their afternoon visit. Thompson entered Maxwell's room, his typically impassive expression troubled. "Sir, Miss Hargrove is here. She's insisting on seeing you." Maxwell's expression tightened momentarily before he nodded. "Send her in. Children, perhaps you should—" "We're staying," Ethan declared firmly, positioning his wheelchair beside his father's. Lily moved to Maxwell's other side, a united front as Vanessa Hargrove entered the room, impeccably dressed and carrying a leather portfolio. "Maxwell?" she greeted, her gaze sweeping clinically over his diminished form before acknowledging the children with a tight nod. "You're looking better. What do you want, Vanessa?" Maxwell asked directly, his tone courteous but cool. "To discuss the company's future," she replied, opening her portfolio. "The board is divided. Your unexpected recovery has complicated matters." "You mean it's complicated your plans to take permanent control," Maxwell corrected mildly. Vanessa's professional mask slipped momentarily, revealing a flash of annoyance. "I've kept Blackwood Industries stable during an unprecedented crisis. The Asian markets were poised for collapse after your incident." "And I'm grateful for that," Maxwell acknowledged. But my medical team confirms I'll be able to resume limited duties within a month, full responsibilities within 6. The interim leadership arrangement was always intended to be temporary. That's actually why I'm here, Vanessa said, extracting a document from her portfolio. The board's medical advisors suggest a more conservative timeline would be prudent. They've drafted a structured transition plan that would maintain current leadership for at least 12 months, with you gradually resuming responsibilities as your condition permits. Maxwell accepted the document, reviewing it with a speed that belied his physical limitations. Interesting. This effectively keeps you in control indefinitely, with my role reduced to figurehead. It's a reasonable precaution, Vanessa insisted. The company needs stability, certainty. And this transition plan is the board's unanimous recommendation? Maxwell asked, a hint of his old strategic acumen evident in the question. Vanessa hesitated fractionally. A majority position. I see. Maxwell handed the document back. Please convey to the board that I'll be resuming full control on the timeline my medical team has established. If individual members have concerns, they're welcome to visit me personally. Vanessa's composure cracked further. This is exactly the kind of reckless, emotional decision-making that concerns the board. First the girl, now this premature return. The girl has a name, Maxwell interrupted, his voice gaining strength. And my decision to adopt Lily has nothing to do with the company. Everything you do affects the company, Vanessa countered. Your judgment has never been clearer, Maxwell finished. Near-death experiences have that effect, Vanessa. They strip away pretense, reveal what truly matters. And the company doesn't matter? She challenged. Of course it does, but not above all else, not above family. Vanessa's gaze shifted to Lily, calculation evident in her eyes. The adoption hearing is next week, I understand. Have you considered what effect your diminished capacity might have on the court's decision? Family court judges are notoriously cautious about placing children with guardians who have health concerns. The implied threat hung in the air, targeting Maxwell's most vulnerable point. Lily felt him tense beside her, saw the momentary flicker of doubt cross his face. My health has been thoroughly documented and reviewed by the court, Maxwell replied evenly. Judge Martinez is fully informed. Judges can change their minds when presented with new evidence, Vanessa suggested. Medical opinions differ. More conservative assessments of your recovery timeline might raise concerns about your capacity to parent a new child. Are you threatening to interfere with my daughter's adoption? Maxwell asked, the directness of the question cutting through Vanessa's careful insinuations. I'm merely pointing out that your professional and personal decisions are interconnected, Vanessa replied smoothly. Compromise in one area might ensure success in another. Before Maxwell could respond, Lily stepped forward. Ms. Hargrove, may I ask you something? Surprise flickered across Vanessa's face. Of course, child. Why do you hate me so much? Lily asked simply. What did I ever do to you? The blunt question seemed to catch Vanessa off guard. I don't hate you, she protested. This isn't personal. It feels personal, Lily persisted. Ever since we met, you've tried to get rid of me. You called me a street urchin. You tried to have me taken away when Mr. Blackwood got sick. Now you're threatening to block my adoption unless he gives you control of his company. That's not, Vanessa began. It is, Lily interrupted with the clarity of a child cutting through adult prevarication. And I don't understand why. I'm just a kid. The company is yours to fight over, but why drag me into it? The directness of the question left Vanessa momentarily speechless. In the silence, Maxwell reached for Lily's hand, pride evident in his expression despite the concern in his eyes. I think, Maxwell said quietly, we'd all appreciate an honest answer to that question, Vanessa. Something shifted in Vanessa's expression, a momentary crack in her polished facade, revealing something raw beneath. You want honesty. Fine. You changed after Catherine died, Maxwell. Withdrew from everyone who cared about you, focused entirely on Ethan and the company. For years, I stood by you, supported you, waited for you to emerge from your grief. She gestured toward Lily. Then this child appears, a complete stranger, and suddenly you're making impulsive decisions, restructuring trusts, changing wills, putting everything we've built at risk. What was I supposed to think? That perhaps I'd finally started healing, Maxwell suggested gently. That connecting with Lily helped me remember there's more to life than balance sheets and board meetings. At the expense of everything else? Vanessa challenged. Not at the expense of. In proper perspective too. Maxwell straightened in his chair, his voice gaining strength. The company will continue, Vanessa. Blackwood Industries isn't going anywhere, but neither is my family, which includes Lily. Vanessa studied him for a long moment, something like resignation settling over her features. You won't reconsider the transition plan? I'll resume leadership on the timeline my doctors have approved, Maxwell confirmed. You're welcome to remain as COO, the position you've excelled at for years, but the interim CEO arrangement ends when I return. And if I contest this, if the board backs me, then we'll have a very public, very messy corporate battle, Maxwell replied calmly, one that would damage the company far more than my temporary absence has. A tense silence filled the room as Vanessa weighed her options. Finally, she closed her portfolio with a decisive snap. I'll convey your decision to the board. She turned to leave, then paused at the door, looking back at Lily. For what it's worth, I don't hate you. I just believe Maxwell deserves someone who understands his world, his responsibilities, someone who's been there from the beginning. Someone like you? Lily asked, the insight surprising even herself. A sad smile touched Vanessa's lips. Perhaps, but it seems that role has been filled more effectively than I anticipated. With that, she departed, leaving a weighted silence behind her. Well, Maxwell said after a moment, that was illuminating. She's in love with you, Lily observed, the adult dynamics suddenly clear to her. That's why she hates me. She thinks I took her place. Maxwell looked startled, then thoughtful. Vanessa and I have a complicated history, but you're perceptive as always, Lily. There were expectations on her part that I never fulfilled. Will she try to stop the adoption? Ethan asked worriedly. She might, Maxwell acknowledged. But Judge Martinez is famously independent, and we have something Vanessa doesn't. What's that? Lily asked. Maxwell smiled, the expression transforming his tired face. The truth, that we're already a family in all the ways that matter. The adoption just makes official what's already real. The day of the adoption hearing dawned clear and bright, spring sunshine bathing the city after a long, difficult winter. Maxwell had been granted a day pass from the hospital for the occasion, though he still required a wheelchair and would return to the rehabilitation center afterward. In the family court building, Lily sat between Ethan and Maxwell, wearing the new dress Mrs. Carter had helped her select for the occasion. Her stomach fluttered with nervous anticipation as they waited for Judge Martinez to enter. Nervous? Maxwell asked quietly. Lily nodded. What if something goes wrong? What if Vanessa? Judge Martinez is familiar with corporate politics, Maxwell assured her, and more importantly, she knows our family. This is a formality, Lily. You're already a Blackwood in all but name. When Judge Martinez entered, the proceedings moved with surprising swiftness. The judge reviewed the documentation, noting Maxwell's medical progress and the stability of the home environment under Mrs. Carter's supervision. I see no reason to delay this adoption further, she declared. In fact, recent events have only demonstrated the strength of the family bonds already formed. As Judge Martinez asked the formal questions, did Maxwell understand the responsibilities he was undertaking? Did Lily consent to becoming his legal daughter? Lily felt a surreal sense of disconnect, as if watching the scene from above. After so many losses, so much uncertainty, could happiness really be this simple, this official? By the power vested in me by the state of New York, Judge Martinez concluded, I hereby declare this adoption complete and recognized by law. Lily Tucker is now legally Lily Blackwood, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereof. She smiled, setting aside her formal demeanor. Congratulations to all of you. This family has weathered extraordinary challenges with remarkable grace. Outside the courtroom, as Thompson prepared the car for their return to the hospital, Lily found herself momentarily alone with Maxwell. His physical recovery was progressing steadily, but she knew from their chess games that fatigue still claimed him quickly. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" Maxwell asked, genuine curiosity in his expression. "For not giving up, on coming back to us, on the adoption, on any of it." Maxwell reached for her hand, his grip stronger than it had been weeks ago, but still not what it once was. "Lily Blackwood," he said, testing the name with evident satisfaction. "I should be thanking you. You saved Ethan's life that day in the park, but you've done something equally important since." "What?" Lily asked. "You reminded me how to live again," Maxwell replied simply. "After Catherine died, I focused on securing the future, Ethan's future, the company's future. I stopped living in the present." "You changed that." He smiled, the expression transforming his face despite the lingering effects of the stroke. "The day you gave your coat to my son was the day our family began to heal. Everything since, my recovery, this adoption, it's just making official what began in that moment of compassion." Lily felt tears welling up, unable to articulate the complex emotions swirling within her. Instead, she did something she rarely initiated. She leaned forward and hugged Maxwell, feeling his strong arm wrap around her in return. "Dad," she whispered, testing the word that had never before felt right with any adult. She felt his breath catch, then his embrace tightened. "Yes," he murmured, "that's exactly who I am." Ethan joined them a moment later, completing their circle as the newly official family shared their first embrace. 6 months later, on a warm September afternoon, Lily stood on the rooftop terrace of Blackwood Tower, watching as Maxwell demonstrated his walking progress to an attentive group of board members. His recovery had exceeded medical expectations. He still walked with a slight limp and occasionally struggled with word-finding when tired, but he had resumed leadership of Blackwood Industries with characteristic determination. Vanessa Hargrove had resigned her position shortly after the adoption was finalized, accepting a CEO role with a competing firm. The corporate power struggle had faded into background noise as Maxwell implemented a new vision for Blackwood Industries, one that prioritized family-friendly policies and work-life balance for all employees. "Impressive, isn't he?" Ethan said, maneuvering his exoskeleton smoothly to join Lily at the railing. The customized Exo Assist had become part of his daily routine, allowing him extended periods of independent mobility that would have seemed impossible a year ago. "Very," Lily agreed. "Doctor, Winter says he's in the top 1% of recovery for his type of stroke." "Blackwoods are overachievers," Ethan quipped, repeating one of their father's favorite phrases. "Even at recovering from near-death experiences." Lily smiled, watching as Maxwell concluded his demonstration and made his way toward them, his gait steady despite the subtle use of a carbon fiber cane. "Well?" he asked as he reached them. "How did I do?" "The board seems impressed," Lily observed. "Especially Mr. Prescott." Maxwell chuckled. "Walter's still adjusting to the new normal. Change isn't easy for men like him." "Speaking of change," Ethan said eagerly. "Can we tell her now?" Maxwell's eyes twinkled with suppressed excitement. "I suppose it's time." "Tell me what?" Lily asked suspiciously. "Your birthday present," Ethan blurted. "It's amazing." Lily's 8th birthday was still 2 weeks away, but she'd learned that the Blackwoods approached celebrations with the same thoroughness they applied to everything else. "We're establishing the Blackwood Foundation for Children's Welfare," Maxwell announced. "A non-profit dedicated to identifying and supporting children in situations similar to yours, those who've fallen through the cracks of the system." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Really?" Maxwell confirmed. "The foundation will focus on innovative approaches to foster care, support for kinship caregivers like your grandmother, and emergency intervention for homeless youth. And," Ethan added excitedly, "Dad's naming you as junior chairperson when you turn 18. You'll help decide where the money goes and which programs to support. Until then," Maxwell continued, "you'll serve as honorary youth advisor. Your perspective, your experience, they're invaluable to making this work effectively." Lily found herself speechless, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the gift. Not jewelry or games or typical birthday extravagances, but something that acknowledged her past while creating a future for others like her. "I don't know what to say," she admitted finally. "Say you'll help us," Maxwell suggested gently. "Your journey from that park to becoming a Blackwood, it shouldn't be an exceptional story, Lily. Every child deserves a family, a home, the chance to thrive. Even street urchins," Lily asked with a small smile, recalling Vanessa's dismissive term. "Especially street urchins," Maxwell replied, his expression serious despite his light tone. "They tend to make the very best Blackwoods." As the city stretched out before them, bathed in afternoon sunlight, Lily felt the final pieces of her new identity settle into place. The past year had transformed all of them. Maxwell's stroke, Ethan's increasing independence, her own evolution from suspicious street survivor to beloved daughter. She thought of that cold November night when she'd spotted Ethan fallen near the storm drain, of the split-second decision to help rather than take advantage. One moment of compassion had changed everything, not just for her, but for all of them. "I'll help," she promised, taking her father's hand on one side and her brother's on the other. "We'll help other kids find what I found." "And what's that?" Maxwell asked, though his eyes suggested he already knew the answer. Lily looked between them, her family, her home, her future, and said simply, "A place to belong." Above them, the first star of evening appeared in the darkening sky, a silent witness to the journey completed and the new one just beginning for the most unexpected Blackwood of all.